So this is Rebecca right here. She's a bantam. She's an old English bantam. That's what I was told. She's old, but every spring she gets out, or the end of winter, because it's technically not spring yet, she gets out of the chicken run and goes and tries to find a place to lay eggs. And she does this every single year, and she'll lay about 9 eggs, and then she'll sit on them. One year she laid eggs in a black cow manure bag. Found them later. One year she laid eggs in our fire pit. One year she found a spot in our strawberry patch to lay eggs. And the thing about Rebecca is she's relatively mean, and pretty much none of her eggs are fertilized ever. So she's never been able to hatch out any of her eggs. So Rebecca is out currently trying to find a place to lay her eggs. And when she's finished laying her eggs, she'll go hop back into the chicken run. So we're gonna have to clip Rebecca's wings so she can't keep doing that, because she's prime hawk food because she's so tiny. And so we're gonna put her back, and she'll just have to lay eggs in the nesting box, just like all the other chickens. Say bye, Rebecca. There we go. Should we do the other one? Because she's gonna be determined this year. I'm gonna cut her other feathers. There we go.
Just like cutting nails.
Yeah.
Only they're soft.
I feel like I should say, hi, welcome to Story Time with Sarah Turner. I'm sitting in my rocking chair. I got this from my grandmother. I had wicker chairs in my room when I was growing up. And so she gave me this one. And it's been sitting in my attic for a while. And now it's in my greenhouse. It's kind of a nice, comfy place to sit. But I feel very old. Not old, but like old-fashioned old. That's what I feel like. So hi, welcome to Story Time. All right, everything I talk about in terms of my greenhouse and growing in it is going to be a learning process for myself. So you can learn right along beside me if you are considering a greenhouse in your little backyard. I'm not a commercial grower, so I can't speak to commercial sized greenhouses, but I can speak to a little backyard greenhouse. The greenhouse I'm sitting in, we got it from Harbor Freight. We've been watching it for a while, and they had a sale on last year in the winter time in about January, and so we went and we bought it. And we put it up, and I grew some microgreens in it for market use, to take to the farmer's market. And I will say this, I prefer microgreens grown in a greenhouse as opposed to grown with lights in my garage. There was something about the taste of them that changed, getting real sunlight as opposed to light from a just like the LED grow lights that I had. You don't need grow lights, I guess, to grow microgreens if you want to do them for your own personal use. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about starting seeds. which I guess microgreens is technically starting seeds. And I'll do a whole video on microgreens later, because I am going to grow some, because I was asked by my little 6-year-old friend if I would grow microgreens for him. And you can't deny that one. So I'm going to do those, but I'll do that later. Right now I'm trying to get my summer seeds started, and I really am excited because I usually just direct sow everything, which is completely fine. If you don't have a greenhouse, don't let that stop you from doing anything. The reason that we have a greenhouse is because we don't have any good natural light in my home, and so I just wanted to have a place to start the amount of seeds that I wanted to start. And it's also a really good place to kind of come out of the cold in the winter time and be outside still. I've already started a lot of seeds. I started tomatoes, I've started onions and peppers. I started some herbs and flowers. Nothing's sprouted yet except for the onions. But today I'm starting seeds for things that tend to not want to be transplanted, that don't transplant well. Also, I'm doing some cucumbers, and I'm doing some what is it? Summer squash. Please forgive me still. Chemo brain is still very much an issue for me. So I'm not always thinking straight. And I could edit those things out, but it makes really hard editing and takes longer. So I'm getting ready to plant cucumber seeds. And cucumbers, you can direct sow. They're just fine, but I want to get a jump start on my growing season, and that's why we have the greenhouses, so we can get a jump start on the growing season. Cucumber roots, you can transplant them. That's fine. Let me show you what I have. So you'll see these types of trays. You see this, and this is what I have all my teeny tiny seeds in. And this is fine to pull out, this is for like tomatoes. So I'll be able to pull my tomatoes out just fine when they're growing, and this allows me to see what germinated, what didn't. And there's like 1 tomato seed per cell in this, and there's 120 in these. I've planted about 500 tomato seeds. And some of that's for commercial use later this season. And then I've planted a bunch of different pepper varieties. And so, but my cucumber seeds that I'm doing, and my zucchini seeds and things like that, those are larger seeds that won't necessarily fit in those. And I don't have cell trays that are a little bit bigger. That's what I have. So what I do have is these little pots, and these are, I think these are classified as 4-inch pots. Not positive. There's a pot out there that I have that's a little bit bigger than this, but this is the smallest one I have. So I'm going to be planting cucumber seeds in here and zucchini seeds in here, and I'm also going to do watermelon seeds and my winter squash and all of that kind of stuff in these pots. So that way they have plenty of room to grow. There's plenty of room for root development without them getting bound. So when I do go in and transplant them into my garden, then they'll be fine, and they're not gonna experience a lot of, I think the shock is why they don't transplant well is because of root development. That's something I'm assuming. So don't quote me on that. So if I can give them plenty of room to grow, even though they'll still be small plants, then they'll be okay when it comes to transplanting. And if I fail, guess what? You get to watch me fail. So I've filled these guys with dirt, and I'm gonna water them really, really good. So that way, and then I'm just gonna let it sit so that all the water can soak in. The tray I have below them does not have holes in them, and that way I can bottom water from now on and not water from the top. And that's how we'll keep these going. I can do a video later of what all I am growing. Maybe, if you want to know, or maybe it's more fun to see it in the garden. I don't know. But this year I'm growing some loofah gourds, and those take a minute to get started. I don't know. I've never done this, but this is going to go over my chicken run. We're trellising these over the chicken run to provide shade for the chickens. And if any fall, the chickens can eat them if they wanted to, but then I can harvest them. But it's mostly to provide shade for the chickens in the summertime. That's what my hops were supposed to do, but I didn't have time to put in the effort for the hops last year because chemo. And then that made me evaluate how much I wanted to devote towards the hops. Hops is an evergreen. In the first year, it takes a whole heck of a lot of water to get them established. And once you get them established, you just need to keep watering them. They take a lot of water, which is why they do so well in the Pacific Northwest. The varieties that I bought do grow here. You just have to spend a lot of time on them. And I don't want to devote that amount of time to them. So I'm not going to grow hops this year. I'm growing annuals that will vine over the chicken run. And I'm also going to grow birdhouse gourds. These are slow to germinate and don't germinate well. So I'm going to be planting a lot of these to see what all will germinate. We'll see. But most of these seeds, you can soak them overnight. The chicken's flying into the greenhouse. You can soak these overnight, and what it does is it jump starts the germination process. It softens that outer shell. So a lot of these larger seeds, that's what I do, is I soak them overnight and then I plant them in the ground. I'm also starting eggplant. I don't like eggplant. My husband does. So I'm growing eggplant in hopes that maybe I'll like eggplant. Because there's a lot of things that I don't like to eat that I grow, because when I grew them, I realized that, oh wow, they actually have flavor. They don't taste like grocery store produce. And then this is what you all are going to want to know. I want to talk about growing cucumbers in a suburban environment. You can grow cucumbers just fine, most places, and be okay because you have bees pollinating your cucumbers. Cucumber vines have male and female flowers, and in order to get cucumbers, the male flower has to pollinate the female flower, and that usually happens by your bees. You can go in there if you want to. The same with tomatoes, but it seems to be harder with cucumbers. You can go in there with a little paintbrush and you can hand pollinate all those little things if you want to. Again, it's not something I want to devote time to. And so what we learned from a friend of ours is there is a cucumber out there that is both male and female flower. So you don't need a pollinator to pollinate that. And why that appealed to us is because we live in a suburban neighborhood. Our town sprays for mosquitoes. The first year that we moved here, they didn't do that, and we had no mosquitoes. Well, now they spray for mosquitoes, and guess what? We have mosquito issues. So anyways, but that's chemical that they spray at night kills our bees. Every single time. I have all my little pollinators come into my yard and doing their jobs, and I love them and I let them do their job and leave them alone because they're so much better at it than I am. But then here comes the town spraying for mosquitoes. And every morning I wake up and I have dead bees all in my garden, and it sucks. which is another reason why I'm not going to get beehives in my yard. I could, but I'm not going to, because I'm not going to fight with that in the town. So what that does is that slows my production of cucumbers way down. So I was told about this cucumber. I got these from Johnny Seeds. If you can find this elsewhere, because I don't think Johnny is selling any of their seeds unless you are a farm. You have a commercial account with them. I have a commercial account with them because I grew microgreens commercially. And I also am growing a few other things this year, not microgreens commercially, because I'll be doing just a few farmers markets this year. But I got these last year, and these are Excelsior cucumbers. And they have both male and female flowers. And these are considered greenhouse tomatoes or cucumbers. And so you can definitely grow these not in a greenhouse. And grow them in your yard, and we trellis them. And these were perfect. Bees still loved them. They still pollinated the flowers, but I wasn't reliant upon the bees to do the job. What I had trouble with this year were my dogs eating my cucumbers. So we're fencing off the garden this year. We're buying some poultry netting so that way we can use it with our poultry. But I can fence off the garden and keep the dogs out of it. They've been my biggest pest this past year. They also ate all my bok choy. Most of my bok choy. Not bok choy. Kohlrabi. They ate most of my kohlrabi. But they love the cucumbers just as much as I do. But I was able to put back a lot for pickles, which is what I wanted to do. These make a really good eating cucumber, and these also make a really good pickling cucumber. So if you are in a town that sprays for mosquitoes and struggle with getting pollinators, this is a very good variety of cucumber to grow. If you can't find this variety, look for a cucumber that is both male and female flower. And then, just for fun, I'm growing these guys. That'll be fun, right? If you want another pickle or another cucumber that's very good to eat and also very good for pickling because it makes a unique flavor, these are super prolific. You only need 1 or 2 plants and you're gonna have more cucumbers than you know what to do with. So these are the things that I'm getting done today. I'll go over, and this is the stuff that I know, and I can confidently tell you, I know that I can start these in the greenhouse and be able to have success. I'm trying to jumpstart my growing season is what I'm trying to do. That's the whole point of this greenhouse. But you can also direct sow those things in your yard and you're going to still have a prolific season. Except for these guys. I don't know what I'm doing with these guys. So you get to learn with me if you haven't done this. If you know how to do these things and you want to offer tips, I will gladly take them. But I'm hoping to, because we make our own soaps, this is one of the things that I want to use. I also want to use them for scrubbing dishes. So that's what these are for. These are just for fun and to allow us to do maybe something artistic and bring it to farmers markets in the spring. The benefit of using these trays right here is that you use very little soil to start your seeds, and which is really, really nice. You don't have to have a lot of soil to do it, and it's just super beneficial. And then you can see what germinates, so you can check your germination rates and things like that. And just in case no one knows what a germination means, is that's when your seed sprouts and pops up. Because I didn't know those things at one time, so I don't want to assume that everybody who's watching me knows what I'm talking about and use big words. So I've got all my tomato seeds because they're teeny tiny seeds, pepper seeds, all of that stuff. So peppers and tomatoes need really, really, really warm soil. It gets in the 90s in here during the day. And if I open up the door or the the things, the vents up top, I could control that and make it drop a little bit more. But at nighttime, it gets down to the temperature because this is unheated. I don't have any sort of heat system out here. And so it drops down to the temperature that it is outside. And we're still having like 30-degree nights. So what I do, and yes, it's work. It's extra work. But what I do is I have 5 flats of, or 5 trays of tomatoes and peppers. And what is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. No, those are herbs. Okay, so I have 5. I have 5 trays of tomatoes and peppers, and I take them in every night. And my house stays about 70 degrees, and which is the soil temperature that you want. And then I bring them out in the morning as soon as the greenhouse temperatures have risen back to higher than 70 degrees. And that doesn't take long. It's a little bit of work, but it's going to be worth it to get these guys. I could keep them inside all the time until they germinate. But I'm trying to use the hotter temperatures. I don't want to keep my house 90 degrees, so I'm trying to use the hotter temperatures that are out here to do that for me. My herbs and flowers that I have growing down here, I'm not really worried about. And they're doing just fine. My little my onions over here, they're doing good. Let's see if I can turn you around. But yeah, you can see my little onions starting to sprout. They are late to sprouting because we got that snow and ice and my greenhouse froze. So I left them in here and the soil was dry and everything was very compacted in. And so I watered it and just left it out here. And yeah, so probably about 50% of my onions have sprouted. We'll see what the rest of them do. This greenhouse is going to be a nice learning curve. And we'll see how everything happens and see if it really does give me a nice jump start on this growing season. All right, you saw us clip her wings. Girlfriend got out and she was where? She was taking a dust bath where?
In the pots on the patio.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you see that? Evidence. Girlfriend. I don't know. I wonder if she's slipping through a spot.